this is going to sound like heresy.
Hmm?
This is really going to sound like heresy. And I promise you that I'm not saying this to try to be a troll. I legitimately and honestly feel like the feeling I have walking out of Rogue One is the exact same feeling I got walking out of Transformers Extinction.
Ooh.
Not to say that Rogue One is as bad a movie as Extinction, far from it. But it's that same level of just like it's not like a feeling of giving up, but it's just sort of like a feeling of, well, this is life now, I guess. Fuck me. I didn't have any expectations going into this movie. I really didn't. This movie could have gone either way for me. And I would have emerged on the other side just saying, like, well, that was an experience. But what I wasn't expecting was this movie to be as boring, as infuriating, and as just life-sapping as it is. It's one of the more draining films of the year, just in terms of, like, this... And I think I've discovered something about myself. I think I've discovered that as far as, movie going is concerned, nothing could take the wind out of my sails quite like being asked to care about what's happening in the movie while the movie is giving me no reason to care about it. But it keeps asking me to care. It's like, come on, don't you care about what's happening to these characters? And then, like, no, movie, you're not giving me any reason to care about these characters. Oh, okay, we'll just ask you in 10 minutes again.
That's exactly sums it up. Actually, I couldn't say it. I could not say it any better. That is exactly what this felt like.
This is an interesting.
Is it time? Is it time to care again?
This is definitely a watch checker of a movie, but or phone checker in our day and age. But
it's like, okay.
Okay, it's go time. This is actually an interesting movie making theory as far as Star Wars is concerned, because up till now Star Wars has been its own like self-contained, not self-contained rather, but it's always been like it's always about the Skywalkers in one form or another, be it Anakin or Luke or Leia, as it were. But this is the first time like that actual major motion picture is basically an expanded universe tale. I mean, we've gotten video games, we've gotten novels, we've got television shows about the expanded lore, and this is the first time it's a mainstream go-around for the expanded lore. And I was saying, you know what, this is kind of a novel approach to it. I can get behind an idea like that. And the first step at making it is, on paper, sounds like an interesting thing. Like, we're always talking, the movie is literally called Star Wars, but this is the first time where we're experiencing in the trenches, as it were, like what war in Star Wars actually is. And I like that idea, but the problem is that Star Wars as a franchise has been totally predicated upon latching yourself onto characters as they go through battles, as they go through skirmishes, as they go through, phases of rebellion. And here, we're giving the beats of character development, but we're not giving any instances of believability in their character development. It's sort of like this weird sort of arc that we're expected to, join with them. But the story it's telling isn't really a hero's journey rather, nor is it really have anything to do with Star Wars as a whole. It's just about, like, the story is ostensibly, when you boil it down, like, how did the rebellion get the plans to destroy the Death Star? Okay, that's an interesting story to hear. But invariably that means spoilers. By the way, spoilers from here on out. So if you still want to go see the movie, despite our lifeless facades right now, then go ahead and watch it, and then just be as joyless and as empty as we are right now. But
I'm still waiting for the shits I give to like come back from the movie theater back into me. And just, he's still on his way.
I don't know. I think I lost my shit sometime during in the middle of Independence Day.
I didn't see that movie. That's why my shits were still there.
You know how Tony Bennett left his heart in San Francisco?
You left it at
I left my shits in Philadelphia.
Well...
I think
That kind of makes sense, I guess.
I think a lot of people's shits are left in Philadelphia.
Man, good place to see Independence Day.
I know, right? But going back, so yeah, spoilers throughout this review. Yeah, everyone's dead. Everyone dies in the movie.
Yeah.
Just about, nears makes no difference. Everyone dies in the movie.
So apparently, stormtroopers learn to shoot good at a certain point, or they go to a different school.
I think stormtroopers, are just like, like they are great. They're great hits. They're great shots when the script needs them to be great hot shots, and horrible shots every time else.
So these weren't like the Navy SEALs of the.
No.
Stormtrooper.
No.
Well, I mean, because this was the same time. This was the same war, as in the actual first 3 films.
Mm-hmm.
So, why is it that this? Let me have this. The stormtroopers apparently can shoot good at a certain point in the movie, and I have to think there's a reason. Because that's like canon, is that they can't.
It's just like
in order for someone to die in the Star Wars universe, it's got to be like by someone of great epic proportions that is impactful on the story. Cannot be a stormtrooper. So those were stormtroopers who killed most of the people at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah. But here, why they were able to do it? They didn't shoot them. They used grenades. You don't have to be accurate.
One guy got shot by shit.
Two people got killed by grenades.
Yeah.
The blind guy got killed by a grenade, and his buddy got killed by a grenade. So
Oh, that's right. He got shot first,
but then he got
finished off by
the grenade. Yeah.
So I mean, they did still hit with their guns, but I guess you're right. In the end,
You don't need to be accurate to lob a grenade.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But they did hit.
Yeah. But
so many times. But yeah, that's not.
This
was supposed to be a different kind.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a different kind.
A different kind of movie that follows the same storyline and aesthetics.
Yeah. Like Star Wars is predicated upon, like I said, the hero's journey. Like Luke, journey into manhood, learning about the Force and growing up and learning how easy it is to follow in his father's footsteps, and then deciding that no. So emotional arc over 3 movies. Okay. Star Wars, Rogue One rather, takes the trappings of that story, but doesn't tell that story, and instead basically tells this funeral dirge of a narrative, an endless march towards the inevitable end that only a movie like this, with this type of story it's trying to tell, can reasonably end. They're going on a suicide mission for the rebellion. Now, if that's the ultimate part of the story, why does it matter that Felicity, I forgot her last name, the main character in the movie, Felicity Jones?
Don't ask me.
Yeah, like the actor, I don't even know the character's name.
Stardust.
Her father calls her Stardust, and her father was the guy who made all the plans, who drew up the plans of the Death Star, and he was the one who invariably left that little exhaust port in the middle of the. So that's plugging in that hole. Is like, why would the Empire build this massive Death Star? And
so here it is. I had heard this theory long before the movie came out, that it was it was just a jeopardizing of the plan or the blueprints. But I guess that I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it was a fan theory.
It was fan theory.
So they took fan theory and went with
it. Made it canon.
I mean, it made sense. It was a good fan theory. I
mean, it was great fan theory, and it made sense, and now it's canon. Okay. I mean, this is a long way to go just to legitimize fan theory, but I've certainly seen worse ways of handling fan theories and turning them canon. Adventure Time.
So this movie could have. I went into it with much higher expectations than I did for the new Star Wars film, but I don't know. For the previews made it seem like it had a different kind of feel to it,
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, it wasn't even for me as good as the new Star Wars film.
Well, I'll give Star Wars 7 one thing. It felt like a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing you could say about it, is that it legitimately felt like a Star Wars movie. Now, a lot of detractors say, like, well, it feels like a Star Wars movie because it's just Star Wars 4 again. And, to an extent, they're right. But, like, their first step at making an expanded universe movie is basically them not telling a Star Wars movie, not being a Star Wars movie. And that just that kind of goes against the grain. So they have this grim, dark narrative, and make no bones about it. This is grim, dark, as Star Wars has ever been. This is, as much as I remember the hoopla around Episode 3 being the first PG-13 Star Wars movie released, and how because it's the story of Anakin turning to the dark side. Of course, it's going to be violent. That was almost kind of cartoonish in its violence, especially when Anakin, was kind of spontaneously combusted on the fire, and he's because of Hayden Christensen's horrible overacting and screaming at fucking at Ewan McGregor, it just, the fact that he killed quote unquote younglings, because we can't say he killed children, is it just kind of goes over your head. It feels like, yeah, that's he killed kids because of some vague, hazy promise that some old guy, Grima worm-tongued into his ear.
But yeah, this was grim. When you say this was grim dark, it wasn't that grim dark. It wasn't. Anytime somebody died, it lacked that visceral feeling to it. It didn't feel. It wasn't really bloody. It wasn't really gory or anything like that.
It was just constantly surrounded by death.
Yeah.
Just death everywhere. Just destruction and like a war movie. They wanted to make a war movie,
but none of it had any feeling to it. None of it carried any impact. No, there was no weight behind any of it. It was just kind of happening here, everywhere.
And like on one hand, like I get why they didn't want to make the characters all that memorable, because they knew they were going to kill them off anyway. So they don't want to make the audience sad because there's kids. There's kids in the mirror, so we can't make.
But those are still your characters. That's your characters from the movie. Your main stars. Everybody's important, and you want it to have an impact on the audience when they die, because otherwise, what's the point?
Mm-hmm. They were supposed to be sacrificing for the greater good, so let their sacrifice mean something to the audience, and yet it doesn't. It's just, well, all right, looks like we're beginning the death count right about now. Okay.
I really didn't give a shit about a single character, and that is bad for a movie.
I mean,
that's really bad.
Yeah, Star Wars 7, I wasn't very hot on, but at least I could. Well, one, I could remember Kylo Ren.
Of course, everybody. At least when all said and done, at least Kylo Ren was memorable.
Kylo Ren was memorable. Yeah. At least he had motivation. At least you could say something about him as a character. You can't say anything about these characters.
Yeah.
Let's
start with the main character.
The main character,
Stardust, whatever Felicity thing.
Felicity. I just remember her name is the actress's name is Felicity something rather.
Okay. She looks like kind of like she reminds me of a Sarah Michelle Gellar kind of, but without the acting skills.
Yeah, I'm not. That's a little. I
know it's mean.
That's a little mean. I wouldn't go that far, but
she didn't. I don't know. I didn't see any. She didn't do it for me in this film at all.
Like her. In a weird way, this is sort of like the good barometer for women's representation in media. When you're kind of a lead female actress and her role is no more special than any, throw a dart and you hit a male character's tragic backstory. And that's as far as that movement is concerned, that's where you want to hit.
I mean, maybe the writing betrayed her, but
the writing definitely
the
writing definitely betrayed her.
But from my point of view, I just didn't get I didn't feel like it was a good performance.
Well,
I just didn't feel it.
Well, what they wanted, I guess, what the director Gareth Edwards tried to. Gareth Edwards. God. Okay, all right. Let's start from the top.
So I know it's mean, but that's the truth.
Yeah, let's start from the top. Felicity plays. We forgot the character's name. We call her Stardust because her father's little nickname for her. And Empire picks up her dad to basically make the Death Star, and she's traumatized because she was a little girl. and somehow she's being taken care of by Forrest Whitaker, her surrogate father. Except sometime between the interim between when she was a teenager to when the movie starts up right now, she split with him, and now she's been recruited by the rebellion, who abducts her because they believe that they could get her into contact with Forrest Whitaker okay, here's where the movie started to falter with me. The rebellion picks up Felicity, the main character, Stardust. We'll call her Stardust. Picks up the main character, Stardust, not because she, need warm bodies for the war effort. I mean, that's as good as any. Mm-hmm. That's as good as reason as any. But instead, because she's the special, because of her birthright, she is the daughter of the guy who built the Death Star. It's
the scientific mind behind.
Yeah.
The Death Star blueprints.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, so they're kind of going for this kind of destined thing. They're not saying destined because she has the Force or anything like that. No. It's just more along the lines of for plot convenience, she's the guy's daughter. So so she's his daughter. Okay, do they need her to go to him? Do they think she knows where he is? It's no. They're using her to get to Forrest Whitaker for some reason. They're going to Forrest Whitaker because they hear intel that a pilot who does know where her father is has gone to him. Now, why? And the reason why they went to him, the pilot went to him and not the rebellion, is because that guy knows him. Because he trusts. The guy who built the Death Star trusts Forrest Whitaker more than the people who are going to take down the Empire.
Yeah.
The best shot against taking down the. What? And I can't think of a reason why Forrest Whitaker is in this movie. I can't think of.
He's basically a. I thought they were going to go with the Rebels version of Darth Vader, because he's a guy who is kind of sinister, and he's got mostly robotic body parts, and he's got a breathing apparatus, so he's constantly.
Like Dennis Hopper.
He's
Blue
Velvet. He's Blue Velvet in it the whole time.
Don't you fucking look at me!
Forrest wants to fuck.
His performance in the movie was so fucking weird.
But it was at least memorable.
It was weird. It was weird but memorable. That's the most memorable thing about the movie was.
He almost kind of looks like Mr. Glass from Unbreakable.
A little bit, yeah. He had that same kind of
hair was kind of
the weird wild salt and pepper hair, yeah.
But I thought maybe they're gonna show the evil side of the rebellion with him. It's gonna be the parallel to Darth Vader, and they didn't. No, they didn't do that.
Okay, here's some more fucked up things about this. Okay, so the reason why Forrest Whitaker's not with the rebellion is because the rebellion says, well, he's a little too extreme, so we broke things off with him. Yet, for everything we've seen about him and his followers, they're no more extreme than they are.
Yeah.
I mean, they say, the most extreme we've seen of them is that they have, these skirmishes, the skirmishes in the city. It's well, don't you guys fight and sabotage?
Yeah, but remember what the guy said? He said that they've seen and done shit that was... that it was unforgivable.
Yeah, later in the movie,
he said so.
Yeah, later in the movie, rebel fucking soldiers goes up to Stardust and during the low point of the movie, during our epic right before our epic climax.
I'm sorry, I'm imagining fucking Cody Rhodes now.
Okay, can we put a pin in that?
Go ahead, finish your.
I did. At the end of the movie, they all said the male lead goes up to Felicity and says, we've all done terrible things in the name of the rebellion. We've sabotaged, we assassinated, yes. We've done terrible things just for the rebel cause. So I'm thinking, so what did Forrest Whitaker do that was so extreme for the rebel cause? If what you say is true, and you are giving us every reason to believe that what you are saying is true, so why the fuck is Forrest Whitaker there? And before I hand it off to you to explain this Cody Rhodes diversion you want to go on.
Well, that was it.
Oh, okay.
Stardust.
Oh, Stardust. Okay, there.
He said Star.
Oh yeah.
We keep saying Star.
Okay, there. I can't believe it took me that long to figure that out.
It's okay.
Yeah, like I think wrestling as a whole kind of blocks Stardust out of their memory.
Anything I say, you have, a 50-50 chance that it's going to be relevant. So it's okay.
But here's another thing about Forrest Whitaker's character. For some reason, the pilot going up to him and saying, like, here's the plans that I was told to give to you wasn't good enough for him, so he straps him to a chair and has a tentacle monster mind rape him.
So that was this movie's Jabba the Hutt, basically, I guess.
Yeah, but
at least in visuals.
He's all right. Forrest Whitaker has a tentacle monster that mind rapes his victims. I want to get closer to the microphone so you can. Forrest Whitaker has a tentacle monster that mind rapes his victims. Now,
it's the Forrest Whitaker in that sentence that really makes it.
Yes. Ghost Dog has.
Wait, okay. I've never seen Ghost Dog. I know what it is. Somehow I've never seen it. It's supposed to be good, right?
It's a good enough movie.
Yeah. Don't tell me it has a tentacle monster.
No.
Okay, because that'd be really weird.
Yeah, I know. The Last King of Scotland has.
It's like, we're gonna put that movie in right the fuck now and pause this so that I can see what the fuck you're talking about with a tentacle monster.
Here's the thing. He straps him to a chair and says, like, I wonder what else you're hiding from me. You're telling me you're from here, but I can't. So he mind raped. So this tentacle monster, leeches onto his head and just says, he'll find everything you're not telling me. Then we never find out what he's not telling him, if there was anything that he wasn't telling him. And here's the thing. They said that it's like, well, I'll find out everything I need to know, but you're going to lose your mind. He doesn't lose his mind.
And he doesn't lose... thank you for bringing it up. Yeah, that's one of the points I want to get to, is that... this movie doesn't really carry through with a lot of things that they say happen, or that they talk about things, but then they don't happen. Like, we've done horrible things, but you're never going to see us actually do that in the movie. You're never going to find out what those things are, you're going to get mind raped, but you're going to be okay. The guy was fine.
He was
disoriented at worst.
Yeah, like for 10 minutes of the movie, he was like, huh? I'm the pilot. Yeah, I'm the pilot. And then he's just completely, like, normal. Like, after that 10 minutes, he's like...
They don't even need to slap him out of it or anything. The guy's just like, hey, are you the pilot? Huh? Like Napoleon Dynamite. What? I'm the pilot? Yeah, I guess I am the pilot.
Oh god, I know why they had the tentacle monster in that movie, because they figured out, like, wait a minute, we're not really having Forrest Whitaker and his men do things that the rebels wouldn't do necessarily, so let's have a mind rape scene. That's how we can dig it in.
Maybe that's exactly what it is. Maybe they all have tentacle monsters. That's the horrible things they've done.
So you're
they
telling me
people tentacle monsters. So
you're telling me that Grand Mothma has a violating tentacle monster somewhere in the rebel base?
Yes.
Princess Leia Organa has a violating tentacle monster. Stop telling us about your fan fiction. That was not the time. Let's talk about the most annoying fucking thing in the movie. How about let's talk about Robot Drax.
All right.
Let's talk about Robot Drax. Who, did you guys like Drax? Well, guess what? Now there's a reprogrammed Imperial robot who basically just has no filter and just speaks in awkward truths. Isn't he awkward?
I mean, he gets metaphors, I guess, fine. But
gets metaphors fine, but
he's very much.
There's no filter on him, and he just says things to say things. All right. If there's one thing, no, there's many things wrong with this movie, but the chief thing among them is that this motherfucking robot, this goddamn piece of shit bot, every time he's on screen, I'm just expecting him to say some stupid fucking shit that's supposed to be taken as some kind of like
comedic relief,
some kind of comedic
incidental comedic relief or something.
The comedic relief, but the movie's a grimdark war movie. It's like asking Saving Private Ryan, like in Saving Private Ryan, like when they're in the trenches, to have some guy scream out, "I just fell out my bottom into some butterscotch." Thank you. Thank you for telling me that.
I'm still very much alive.
Hey, you guys want to hear a fart joke? Actually, that would be funny.
That would
actually be funny. So no. It would be like in the middle of A Few Good Men during the dissertation at the end, where Tom Cruise is, having this back and forth.
Did you order the Code Red?
You're goddamn right, I did. Then all of a sudden, somebody kicks the door down from back and says, "Who ordered a nice sandwich?"
Yeah.
No one. And then he just creeps back out the door.
Ike's has a Code Red now. And it tastes great.
Speaking of Code Red, how about this Mountain Dew? Shh. Fuck me. That's goddamn. I hated that fucking robot. But
Yeah.
You know what?
I mean,
At least
nothing as bad as Jar Jar. Don't just bury that.
Okay, that's sort of like
Put that to rest.
that's sort of like Godwin's law. Like if you have to whip out Jar Jar as some kind of defense for the movie, that's not a defense for the movie. That's like a truth. That's like saying the sky is blue. I mean, like it's sure the statement is true, but it doesn't exactly have any kind of pertinence to the discussion at hand.
Well, comparing Star Wars movies.
Comparing Star Wars movies, I think that's his.
But
that's his.
Adversely, there's also the fact he was no C-3PO.
Yeah, at least C-3PO had.
Who's also in the movie.
Oh yeah, for like a heartbeat.
And as well as R2.
Because even though this movie is supposed to be a very, very different kind of Star Wars, we can't keep our Star Wars out of the Star Wars, yet we need to keep the Star Wars out of our Star Wars.
Yeah. What was that planet they were on again at the end? I forgot that.
It's like, yeah. There's like half a dozen different locations all throughout this movie.
Yeah, but that planet at the end that gets blown, or the moon or planet, whatever, the body gets blown up. Everybody seemed to have to be there for some amount of time at the end.
Yeah.
And it's like all paths met there.
All paths met there. And that's sort of like been a problem for most of the Star Wars movies, is that like because there's like 4 different plot lines going on with 30 different characters, like we have to witness at the end of the movie 4 or 5 different endings.
Yeah.
And I think it's only the first movie where like everything that's happening is happening in one location, and everyone who's at that location has a good reason, solid reason for being at that location. Ever since then, it's been kind of chaotic, and no more worse was it. Like the worst of it was definitely in, I want to say episode 1 was probably the worst of it, because that was like a war being fought on like 5 different fronts. But here, it's made worse by the fact it's made horrible because of, all right. They found the plans for the Death Star. It's on this random ass, planet that the Empire controls. Yeah. And it just so happens that the villain of the movie, who was basically project lead on the Death Star before Grand Moff Tarkin, more on him in a moment, before Grand Moff Tarkin took over, decides to investigate this random ass fucking backwater planet at the exact same time when Felicity and her ragtag group of saboteurs decided to make a break for it and infiltrate the base and lift the plans and blast them off and transmit them to the rebellion. Okay. Now, Grand Moff Tarkin, offhandedly says, almost unprovoked, says like, that planet, that's where the plans originated from. Okay, now if you're Stardust's father, and you're trying to hide your secret weakness that you planted on your doomsday weapon, and you're being kept on, say, a different planet that we see, why are you putting your plans here? Why not keep them somewhere, like, there has to be a baker's dozen different Empire bases just within the solar system alone.
Yeah.
Why that one? Why the one where it says like, that's where the plans originated from? Why would you put that?
Why'd you keep it there?
Why? It's like, I get not keeping your plans in the place where you work, but if you could move around to the point where you could put these plans physically, like they're in a hard disk that you could remove.
Yeah.
If you could put these plans anywhere there's a server, like a galactic Empire server, why go to the big one that's being protected by an entire platoon? Why not go to any of the other ones, like some backwater planet? The only reason why is so that way you could have, a big climactic battle at the end. Like, we don't get that enough as it is.
Put it in Vader's chest box.
Because, as we've learned through Vader's backstory, the last place Vader wants to be in is that suit.
That fucking suit.
And it just so happened, and we said that, again, in apropos of nothing, the main bad guy goes to this backwood planet just on a hunch.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know that there are plans dictating the weakness to this Death Star. He doesn't know any of that. All he knows is that, look, okay, I'm going to go here to check the logs from Stardust's father.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why he's there personally. Like, you can't send a minion to do that? He has to do it himself personally? For fuck's sake, guy. For fuck's sake.
But, that's all stuff that we can get around for a movie to enjoy it. But
enjoy it for the movie, but what we can't get around is fucking Grand Moff Tarkin's, unthinking Dobby face.
Oh, fuck me.
So, yeah,
I was waiting for somebody to hand him an object so he could be free.
So, yeah, they digitally reconstruct Peter Cushing's face to reprise his role as Grand Moff Tarkin. Now, I'm going to take a moment to let that sink in for all of you. Now, we all know that many of the actors that we love have passed on and therefore aren't, available to reprise their roles.
Yes.
Now, I don't think anyone was weeping salt tears over whether or not if Grand Moff Tarkin is going to make an appearance. Especially for, if you think back to watching A New Hope, you realize that Vader was riding bitch to Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah, he was. That movie was surprising, after you watch the second and the third to go back to, and then you'll be like,
it's like, yeah,
he really came up in the world.
He really did. For a heartbeat. Like when George Lucas had no fucking idea that this was going to be a media franchise. He just thought, okay, let's make Peter Cushing my bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, Darth Vader, I guess, is just kind of more the muscle.
Mm-hmm. And then, everyone's, latched on to Vader, and then, we are where we are now.
Yeah.
So...
Because James Earl Jones is the shit.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. But, So Tarkin gets the shaft in the movie, so now he gets, this big old reveal. It's like, oh my god, it's Grand Moff Tarkin? He gets, the second biggest reveal of the movie. First only behind Darth Vader, which I get why they put Vader in the movie.
It's a big part of the story.
Big part. We're setting every scene up right up until the start of A New Hope. All this movie is just preamble to the start of A New Hope. Mm-hmm. Down to the escape ship that, has Princess Leia on it. For some reason. We'll get to that in a bit, but... I get why they put Darth Vader in the movie. I do, because Darth Vader's Darth fucking Vader. And how do you have a movie that's set during a time when Darth Vader was still...
I did not put Darth Vader in it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. At that point... I get why but must they ruin him? They ruin him with one thing. Main bad guy of the movie, the head of the Death Star, goes up to him and basically bitches about hey, I built this Death Star. Why am I getting the shaft and not getting promoted? And like, Tarkin took my spot on the Death Star, Vader. And then, like, Vader had, tired of his whining and complaining, force chokes him from behind. Yeah. And you're thinking, okay, all right, that's good, that's good. Then he turns around, says over his shoulder, like, be careful not to choke on your aspirations. On your aspirations. Like, I don't remember Vader being a quipper. And I certainly don't remember him relying on puns. I mean, we can forgive episode 3 for the whole no, because at least that was laughably awful.
Yeah.
That was just, this was just lame. This was a lame attempt at a badass line, and it just failed utterly miserably.
Who voiced Vader in this, though?
It's still James Earl Jones.
Is it still because it sounds
like James Earl Jones?
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's still James Earl Jones.
Oh no, he's still around.
Yeah. But that line, that's worse than the no line to me, because at least that has proper emotional context behind it. Padme died. And you failed to save her. You're like, no, okay. Even though that kind of betrays the character of Darth Vader as we formed in our mind, but I would argue that episode 1 and 2 did far more damage to Vader in the preamble than the no did. Yeah. But because the no was in the Darth Vader suit, everyone just remembers that remembers that line. But here, as I said, it's the failure of a badass line, or that expectation that's a like a good line. That's really like that extra twist of the knife.
Yeah.
In one line, like they cut Vader's legs out from under him.
They easily could have had another character say that line. When he reports back, and it's like, oh, he tried to choke me. He's like, careful not to choke on your aspirations.
Like, if they had to fight tooth and nail to get that line in the script,
they had to do it. Yeah.
Vader was so much more menacing and so much more memorable when he said shit like, even when he was making himself out to be the lesser of two evils. The most memorable line for me that Vader ever said is in Return of the Jedi, when he basically says to the guy who's reporting to him at the beginning of the movie, saying like, the Emperor's coming here. He's like, pray that we shall double our efforts. Well, you should. The Emperor is not as forgiving as I am. And it's like, oh, that's baller. That was awesome. It's like, careful not to choke on your aspirations. Like, fuck you. Just fuck you so hard. But we're going back to Leia here for a moment. Leia is the third reveal in the movie, and I don't think that was CG. I think they got a look-alike for her. That was a really good look-alike.
Or they used the same image from the actual, first movies, for the first movie.
But that was entirely new footage they shot of her.
You sure? I mean, they could have touched it up, possibly, because it looked really good.
Because I did see, like, in the credits, like, somebody listed as Leia Organa. Playing Leia Organa, and it wasn't Carrie Fisher. Carrie Fisher had helped. But that was not Carrie Fisher.
I mean, I was really, really worried about like her just being CG'd to high hell, like Peter Cushing or
Jeff Daniels had Tron 2. Oh, that was awful.
I mean, showing what they did to him, in the earlier part of this movie. What the fuck was the character's name? I always remember the actor's Peter.
Oh, Peter Cushing.
So Peter Cushing, and the character's name.
Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yeah, Grand Moff Tarkin. Obviously, I'm not one of the biggest Star Wars fans. After seeing the CG they did to him, I was prepared for Leia to be CG'd up as well. But thankfully, that didn't happen.
I mean, if they found a good lookalike for Grand Mothma, then I figured that, like, why couldn't they just find a lookalike for Peter Cushing? And then I remember, nobody looked like Peter Cushing. Peter Cushing looks like if Benedict Cumberbatch got all the air sucked out of his face.
That's a pretty good description of it. Yeah.
Like, if Benedict Cumberbatch were 30 years older, maybe he could have played Grand Moff Tarkin, but not even Disney has that kind of technology yet. But
I guess that's a good point.
But,
It still looked fucking weird.
oh,
though.
it was fucking. It
It
was
was
terrible.
really off-putting,
Really, really.
and not in the desired way.
Yeah, it reached this is the only time I've ever seen Uncanny Valley.
Yeah.
Like I've actually experienced Uncanny Valley.
Yeah,
Like,
that was pretty close to it.
it was
It was just the eyes. The eyes are so hard to get right.
and the fact that it's not that his eyes were buggy. It's like the fact that they had to cartoonishly sallow his eyes.
Yeah.
To the point where it's just this fucking skull face he's got going on. Like, I know Peter Cushing had a pretty harsh ghoul face, but it wasn't that bad. Come on,
No.
guys. You're just that almost feels like it's like being a bully at that point. This is your face, dude. Look what I made in fucking Maya.
It was almost characterish. Yeah.
The worst.
And I think they made him a little too tall.
Oh,
Because he looked like a fucking giant. He looked like everybody looked like hobbits around him almost. He was really big.
because they're trying to do the same trick with Darth Vader. Darth Vader
It
has
makes
his
him stand out.
Yeah, like to make Darth Vader more imposing, to have him
Yeah.
like a good, 6-7 inches taller than everyone else. Same thing with Grand Moff Tarkin, even though Peter Cushing was never that tall.
But it makes it look like a boss fight, though.
Yeah, when that never fucking happens, and it never will happen. I mean, like, say what you will about Disney taking over the mantle of Star Wars. At least they're honoring the original source material as much as the original canon as much as possible. There's a bunch of characters that are just kind of randomly sprinkled out throughout the movie to kind of complete the ragtag.
You don't remember any of their names, do you?
No, you don't remember any of their names.
Mm-mm.
You don't remember, like, there's a blind guy who I'll call Kenshi because he.
Kenshi.
I'm
Really?
calling him Kenshi because that's Kenshi, from Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
He's a blind guy who thinks he has the Force when he doesn't have the Force. He's just really, really good at martial arts. And then he has another guy who always watches his back, and he's basically the Heavy from Team Fortress 2. He's got this laughably small little canister where his belt-fed gun comes from. It's okay. Why is his gun belt-fed if his gun doesn't shoot shells?
It carries the
It's like a battery pack.
yeah. It's like a little battery.
It's a little battery. He's carrying
It's got little chargers.
He's got this small little laughably.
I mean, maybe they weren't even for the gun.
No, he's got this little dustbin on his back, and it's a little vacuum cleaner. I suppose the blind master was supposed to be more comedic relief. Because he does have a few lines that got left.
I got so fucking tired of hearing the Force is in. I am with the Force. The Force is with me. I am with the Force. The Force is with me. Oh, that got old really fast.
That got old real fast. His quippy one-liners, as few as they were, immediately hit flat with me. And this is where my issue with Disney mandating quips in their movies really is at its nadir so far this year. Who knows how bad it can get? But like when you're making a war movie, and make no bones about it, this is a war movie, and you're having characters who are like, this guy's blind. Somebody throws a sack over his head, and he goes, "Really? Come on!" Ha cha 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 cha.
Yeah, there was a lot. That's the problem. There was a lot of over-tagging jokes in this of, like, really? Would have been enough.
Yeah.
Everybody's gonna get it, I hope.
I should hope.
They don't have to say, I'm blind! I'm a turtle and I can't get up! Yeah, I read that the robot, is talking to, they're saying that, they'll get stuck to something and then they'll
and then we'll die out
freeze to death and die and whatever. And
I'll die out in space. And then the robot, like a fucking asshole,
I won't.
I could survive in the vacuum of space.
He was fine and I won't. It's like, because we know he's a robot. You don't need to tell us again. Stop telling us. Don't tell us why the joke is funny. Just make the joke. That's one of the main problems with all of the quips in the movie. It's over-tagging it.
Just fucking over tagging it and just. I'm kind of frustrated with myself in this movie.
Oh, me too.
I'm frustrated with this movie because this feels like when you picture in your head, like what makes, like that, like like process to fuck, that hacks imagination of like a Hollywood hacky movie is supposed to look like. Like it has this and this and this and this and this and this, regardless if it works for the movie or
Extremely
not.
formulaic.
Yeah, extremely. Just because like tests, the graph shows that this makes a good movie or this makes a profitable movie, whatever. When you picture in your head what a movie like that would look like if you actually sat down and watched it, it feels like that's the movie we just watched.
But with way too long of gaps between things happening. I mean, actually, I shouldn't say that. Things were always happening. It's just it took a long time. Sometimes it felt like there was like less, I don't know, oxygen or gravity on the places they were at because sometimes things dragged for so long, or doors took just a little bit too long to close and open. And somehow the movie just really kind of dragged its feet in that way.
Another problem is that like the entire beginning of the movie, the first 20 or 30 minutes of the movie is completely unnecessary because it deals with Forrest Whitaker. Forrest Whitaker is utterly useless in this movie. It's like just have the pilot go to the rebellion.
Great use of Forrest Whitaker.
And if you're trying to defend the beginning of the movie by saying like, well, we need to show the power of the Death Star in some ways, like we already know what the Death Star can do. We saw the fourth Star Wars movie, you assholes.
That's another one of the problems I had through this movie was constantly reminding of things that everybody knows about Star Wars.
There's the line. I have a bad feeling about this, except the spin here is that the characters tell the robot. Of course, it's the robot who says it. The kid tells the robot to like shut up, like and that counts as clever, I guess. Worse than that was again we mentioned C-3PO and R2-D2 just kind of hanging out in the background.
Yeah, I don't even remember the quip from that. From that.
It's like they're going to that planet. Why doesn't anyone tell us what's going on?
Why doesn't it?
I say R2.
Well, you know what would have been nice if it's like they left me with these plans.
Well,
this I don't know. They just left me with this, and it's like they could have got that way would have led to the castle.
Well, they tried to do that with the end when the planes reached Leia, who was okay. This is the ultimate middle finger as far as I was concerned. So, all the rebellion, a bunch of rebellion fleets are hovering over this planet fighting the Empire. They get the plans. They got this on this little floppy disk looking thing. Because this is the 21st century's reimagining of the 1970s reimagining.
Yeah, that was a bit trippy.
Yeah, that was because now we have to recreate the Death Star, and versus our reimagining of Star Trek with this iPod slickness and touch screens and everything. But we're going back to analog glass buttons and punch and literal levers that you have to pull and.
Like should have just gone full out, and that other should have just been a
plunger.
Yeah, like a TNT plunger or crank.
I mean, that guy needed to throw a switch like Frankenstein's monster.
Why couldn't he have just used his staff to throw it at the damn thing and just flip it?
Yeah,
because he was fucking good enough to do that.
Yeah, I still blind guy, dies a heroic death by hitting a kill switch, which is comically an actual real throw switch, like I said, like Frankenstein's monster kind of throw switch. In this futuristic battle with lasers and like stormtroopers and everything.
Yeah, but
we got still like these animals.
We've kind of accepted that from the Star Wars universe. I mean, it's in a galaxy a long time ago in a galaxy far away, where things were just they happen differently. Yeah, don't think about it too much.
But speaking of not thinking about it too much, so rebellious fleets are fleeing away now that they got the
A-track or
they got the floppy disk or we're talking about like those old 3.5 inch floppies. We're talking about like those 6-7 inch floppies.
Oh yeah. So
they're running away. They're trying to get this information to Leia Organa. Why the fuck is Princess Leia, one of the key members of the rebellion, on a ship that is in the middle of a goddamn battle? Jimmy Smits isn't on that ship in this movie, but not on this ship.
Are we forgetting something here?
No.
Leading to the first movie because of the idea?
Like in the first movie, she was on that ship that got captured by the...
But did they? I forget. Did they actually explain the process of how she got captured for the first film?
No. The only explanation of why she was on that ship to get that information to put on R2 and C-3PO to launch, the pods and get the fourth movie started. Don't you hate having to clarify yourself on that mistake nowadays? But the only setup was that Jimmy Smits is talking with Mothma. And she asks Jamie Smits, like, you're going to reach out to one of your friends? And he says, like, yeah, I trust her. And you're thinking, okay, Leia's going to be in the movie somehow. And for some reason, Leia is on this little escape ship that's on this gigantic frigate, blasting away trying to escape the Star Destroyers. Why in the world is she on this little escape ship on a frigate in the middle of a gigantic battle? When she should be in the war room with Jimmy Smits and Mothma.
Yeah.
She was in the war room at the end of freaking Star Wars A New Hope. Why the hell is she on that ship? Other than
getting it to the Star Wars Episode 4.
Other than just to get her onto Star Wars Episode 4.
I mean, there's no excuse, I guess, here, because this is the movie that explains how it gets to there. That's the whole point of the movie, so we do expect an explanation, I guess, because that's the idea.
That's the idea, I guess, but that's a stupid-ass explanation. Why couldn't it have been
highly unusual?
Why couldn't they get some guy on an escape pod? He meets with the rebellion. Empire invades this little outpost. And
how you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, and then they blast off again. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
The Empire ambushes them during the drop-off. Fucking exhausting. Fucking exhausting movie. Filled with characters you don't give a shit about, nor could you give a shit about. And this draining narrative involving, just tired-ass war tropes and shit that just doesn't make sense and just character... All right, here I want to end this discussion with this simple question. The male lead, whose entire purpose on trying to find Stardust's father is to assassinate him, because the rebellion doesn't trust him, that he's on the up and up, has him in his sights but doesn't fire. Where did this face turn come from? What, over the course of this movie, did we get any indication that he would disobey orders? Especially since the first scene we see him in is him just shooting a guy because he would have slowed him down during an escape. Literally killing a guy.
It lacks motivation.
Completely lacks motivation. He's a cold, calculating guy who does what needs to be done for the good of the rebellion. Just has a face turn for no adequately explained reason.
Yeah, and that's why we can't get on board, and we cannot relate to the characters. We don't understand the decisions. I mean, we see the decisions, but we don't get them. They
just happen.
Yeah. I mean, just because you get an inkling that she's right, or that, this is her father, suddenly I feel bad about that. Just
that's that little moment is very, very much emblematic of the movie at large.
Yeah.
I don't want to say, because this movie is at the end of the year, I'm tempted to put this on one of my worst of list. Just in terms of how I feel.
The movie, I guess, wasn't extremely hyped, but the reactions I had to the movie from the friends in my circles going into it were really good. Really, really good reactions. It sounded like there was going to be like it was going to be surprising. Like this is going to be a surprise movie for me. I mean, I guess the surprise is kind of ruined when people tell you that it's going to be surprising, though. And it wasn't, though. The surprise was that it wasn't a good movie. That's not a good surprise.
That's not.
So,
I mean, like disregarding expectations. I'm just judging what I'm feeling right now and how much of a draining experience it is as a movie. I mean, I can't mark it down for being technically deficient because, technically speaking, it's, as well made a movie as Hollywood can ever make it.
the ending's really good, I think, in theory.
In theory, yes.
Not so much in application, but in theory, the ending's quite good.
Gone with the blast wave.
Yeah, Gone with the Blast Wave. Very nice. Very visually, definitely. I mean, at least it should be.
It should be. It should be more affecting than it is. And, I guess...
Even the visuals might have been a little better done differently.
But as the basic building blocks of what makes a good movie are there. But they're arranged in such a... Excuse me. They're arranged in such a way that you can't care about it.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, that's more frustrating than just a bad movie that's just technically inept and just doesn't know what the hell it's doing. And I guess in that way, I could call it one of the most disappointing movies of the year. One of the more. Probably not the most. I'll have to really think about all the movies I saw this year to really get a good grasp on that. But what I'm feeling right now is a feeling that I do not like.
Yeah.
And it's a feeling that kind of informs my decision making when it comes to very, very subjective oriented lists like top 10 best and worst.
It was just very mediocre.
It's mediocre, but it's the most annoying kind of mediocre it is. It's mediocre that doesn't know it's mediocre and demands the respect you would give to an Oscar winner, like an Oscar contender rather.
Yeah.
It is. I really and sincerely am just utterly. I feel like I'm just like this pool of exhaustion.
And a part of that exhaustion is kind of the knowing that you're going to have to. Every time somebody talks about how great this movie is, you have to just kind of nod and go, "I'm glad you liked it." And it's like, yeah, didn't you love it? Did you like this part? And it's like, I can understand how I can understand why you liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it should have been a good movie.
Yeah,
and it's upsetting that it was not. That didn't meet that
expectation.
Yeah, so
it's it gives us no pleasure to basically bag on this movie.
Exactly. I did not want to have to go into this review saying this shit.
No, we're not trying to be trolls. We're not trying to be
That's a lot of the draining feeling.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, that's not really the movie's fault. I mean, it's not the movie's fault that so many people, that we know a lot of people, and we're probably going to be in the minority on this. That we're going to be. That we're basically just just naysayers and people are going to scream "Don't you like anything?" Fucking, we want to be on your side. I mean, there's not a lot of movies we want to hate.
Yeah.
But, all right, I'll try to, I said that I wanted to end this discussion by, asking that question about that male character's motivation, but I want to try to end this conversation on something the movie did right. And I have to legitimately think about it. Or before I forget though, Star Wars, keep your music Star Wars. Whenever you're trying to make a new piece with the same affectations of Star Wars themes, it sounds like we're listening to a Star Wars knockoff movie.
Turkish Star Wars.
Don't. It sounds like you're trying to sween Star Wars. So don't do that again. Keep variations of the theme. That's fine, but make new music. don't try to put it sandwiched in like dun, 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 somewhere in the thing. Yeah, it's like, this isn't quite Star Wars.
Yeah.
But it's in a Star Wars movie. What the fuck?
Yeah.
But something the movie did right.
Okay, this movie did do some things right.
Some things right, like the
let's get the visuals, so the graphics,
the battle
Yes.
scenes, like the ground force battles,
Yeah.
are appropriately chaotic, and they're appropriately capture, like I said, Saving Private Ryan levels of trench warfare
without gory dismemberment and stuff like that. Of course, that Disney wouldn't have.
Obviously wouldn't have.
But
that helps sell the idea of it being a war movie to me. But everything the movie did right are variations of that. But since it's all happening to people we couldn't care less about, it's kind of all for naught. So like everything good the movie did is, in the end, kind of wasted. You can't even say something nice about this movie without qualifying it with something negative.
I'm just gonna have to go back to my previous positions on movies that have a lot of CG in them. That it's not that I'm against CG. Something's lost in it for me. There's a little bit of soul that's lost in CG, and I really appreciate seeing, the work, the craftsmanship of props and scene setting. Well, too much CG is always going to be a bit of a problem for me. I don't know. Did that bother you at all?
Not really. It did. CG itself didn't bother me outside of Tarkin.
Peter Schilling.
Outside of Tarkin.
Peter Cushing.
Peter Schilling.
Peter Cushing. Yeah.
But outside of Tarkin, because that's trying to replicate an actual human.
Yeah.
An actual living human, not the idea of a living human, but an actual person who has lived. Yeah. Outside of that, I didn't really mind the CG models or anything like that.
And don't get me wrong, it was good CG. It's just
there was a fair bit about a puppetry with some of the alien designs, and I actually appreciated that a lot.
Yes.
And I do want to applaud them for taking the time to do that. Again, it's just the fucking characters and the story and just everything else about this movie that made no sense, character wise, and how just uninvolving the movie is, and how boring the movie is, and how.
And I wasn't big on the acting really either.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's hard to talk about people's acting, especially coming from the acting I've done in my life. I understand that's a hard gig, but I didn't really feel it in this movie. Like the performances didn't seem to have that much drive behind them for me.
Mm-hmm. So, I guess I can only end this conversation with this needed more than just needed to be better. It had the ability to be better, and because it wasn't, that marks it down quite a bit. Quite a bit. Next week is Passengers. At least that sounds like it's going to be a bad movie that's going to be fun to,
Yeah, looking forward to that one.
What a way to end the year on, huh? All right. Till next time.